such as this one, and it would include the two formal business meetings that are presently considered, planning to be online. So that would be third Thursdays for those, and then the twice a year formal in-person meetings would be the third Saturday. I believe Dave Marino had a conflict with second Saturdays, and so we talked about third Saturday. Does anybody have any violent objection to that schedule? Third Thursdays for the phone and third Saturdays for in-person?
No
Hearing
objection
no
here.
objection. Okay, cool. Well, then we can run with that. Obviously, if something comes up where we have a major conflict or somebody, we can edit as we go if we need to. But the for most of us, the sooner we can get these dates nailed down on the calendar, the better, and we start planning around that. So we'll just call that third Thursday, third Saturday, and depending on whether it's online or in person. And hopefully that's okay with the couple of people that aren't here as well. So then the next thing on the list would be, I had mentioned that Paul had come up with a strategic ballot access report, looking at the races we're running this season and looking at what we need to do to keep ballot access. Paul, do you want to take over and introduce that?
And really quick, that next meeting is then November 21st would be the in-person one, and the other one's still on, just so that people are tracking that, since that takes a little bit more investment on time. All right. Yes,
True,
but
true.
the strategic ballot access report. So those that aren't aware, our ballot access is really run through our candidates there. So our candidates are vitally important to us, to not have to do extensive amounts of signature gathering that would be financially unfeasible for us here. So if you look at the Texas law, we have two different amounts that we're going for, either 2% or 5%. 2% gets us, to the next election cycle. 5% gets us through two different election cycles. So those that I've shared it on the forums there, and okay, I can share now my screen, so I'll share it here too.
Cool.
Content only. All right, so you should be able to see what I am sharing on the screen now also. On the report there. So based on current filings and looking at historical outcomes from just using Ballotpedia as a background on what the different outcomes were there, looks at our high yield opportunities to protect ourselves from a petition tribe in 2028. So as I was breaking down and looking at individuals there on the different percentages of their meeting the 2% threshold, due to the criminal appeals, came up as number one for the possibility of meeting 2%, and with the ceiling of a possibility of, if we wanted to meet 5%, met the most possibility out there. Breaking that down was on historical lookout on it, on the strategic outlook when I was putting it through some different odds creations there. Gave an odd of 99% for meeting the 2%, and was lesser for reading the 5% there. Was dependent on what we were able to do as far as things there. So that would have been for Judge Court of Criminal Appeals. And as we look forward into the future and are looking for people, that is a particular role, the Court of Criminal Appeals, where we have a great opportunity to always reach that 2% and have an opportunity for reaching that 5%. So that's one that we should look forward in future election cycles for getting greater ballot access opportunities there. Next up on the what I was using there, broke it down to about 85% chance of reaching that 2% floor for Art DeBianca, Austin R. Kelly, and Neil Snyder. So they came out very high still. So when I was first breaking it down, I kind of narrowed it down to the top four of different races that we want to make sure are really hitting it out there. And I'm not saying anything against anyone's races here. This is just looking at the different historical standards of where we've done well. Some of the hard points for us is looking at the historical standards there, is those top races are very hard to hit the 2% on. and it is infrequent when it happens. So it's looking at these next layers down where we have the breakdown where we have the most success over the history in our party here. Um, then the next ones came out to around 80% chance of reaching that 2% came out for Attorney General and Comptroller of Public Accounts. And then at the very bottom for meeting that 2% is Lieutenant Governor. We sometimes get it. When I was breaking that down, depending on the model, it was coming out to about 55 to 65% chance of hitting that 2% floor. So that is there is a chance of doing it. The chances, the other ones have a very high chance of us reaching that and retaining our ballot access through 2% all the way up to 5% there. So it kind of breaks it down further on the whys and where we're coming in the past there. Um, and the Crystal even pulled at 3% earlier, but we know how that can drop down over time. So looking at that baseline, I gave a little breakdown of the different percentages and some of the different races and why it comes out to those different amounts there. And then breaking down why it's difficult there. There's kind of a mentality as you look at the top for the governor's race that, even if since Pat Dixon's well known, he's been out there in libertarian circles, at least he's well known. And he's run for a lot of things before. But that top ballot for governor's race, you run a really good race and you'll get, tenths of a percent, not a full percentage point push with depending on how hard you work there. So that can be a very difficult race. The good thing about that is how hard that person runs does have some downstream effects of those other races that we're hoping to achieve greater amounts on. And Ted Brown, while he did get 2.4% last time, that is not historically a normal thing for the Senate. And it's even more difficult in these off time years when you look at the historical average. So breaking that down, I just like us to start thinking about how we can improve this in the future and how we can improve those particular candidates that are running and some of our top races there. I don't know how active a campaign Mark Ash is running there for Judge Court of Criminal Appeals, but helping those individuals there to be able to have as much as we can. And let me stop sharing, and I see some hands raised, probably to ask about different things there. Stop sharing. Okay. And let's go to the questions. I see Ted first.
Yeah, hi there. So yeah, I agree with you. Based on past experience there, I think all the statewide constitutional offices except for governor should get the 2%. I think that's pretty clear. On mine, though, I'm not even sure that the U.S. Senate is one that goes for ballot status. I think it's just the constitutional offices like governor, lieutenant governor, et cetera.
It is. It's still just an interesting. Sorry if that was confusing, including that in there. I was just. It was interesting to see as a comparison point on what that does.
Yeah, in my opinion, though, Paul, I think looking at the races, the least controversial state office is land commissioner. I think Don Buckingham, I bet the Republican incumbent's probably going to have the highest vote total of any of the Republican statewide officials, and we might have the highest total in that one because the least controversial, where no one's probably going to be running much for that. Just my opinion.
And as I was breaking that down, sometimes that being least controversial works against us. Conversely, it gets to that point where there's a few times where it's least controversial and people are kind of happy with a particular candidate and they'll just keep going with it, even though normally it's the more controversial it is works against us in a lot of cases. As you break down there, there's also a point where it being not as controversial, sometimes people won't venture out as far. So that's one why he got a more of a middle rating there as opposed to one of the top the very top, the top four there. So that could do very well for us too. Yes, there's a lot of possibilities that we can capitalize on. This kind of breaks it down by the historical average. And I saw one other hand raised that is not raised anymore. Was there another question?
That was just me.
Okay.
It was just a reminder that yeah, as what Ted said, is that the U.S. Senate race does not count towards ballot
Yeah.
access.
Historically, the note on there is that the candidate being active on there has some downstream effects of helping the other candidates. So, uh, Ted, your work, while it doesn't directly relate to ballot access, its impact can be felt in those other races as you get out there and are heard. People that aren't voting for you will decide, oh, you know what, I am going to go back and vote for a libertarian. I like Ted. I didn't feel like I was going to vote for him in that particular race, but now I'm going to go back and I'm going to go vote for that Neil Snyder guy over here because he's a libertarian and I had good feelings off of that other libertarian. But this race I don't feel as controversial about is what gets into the mentality that voters go for there. Um, but this time around, our best chance for 5% is doing the odd making was Mark Ash. I don't know if he is really going all in to do it because the last time he reached that was 2016, and that was some serious effort that was put in. So we might not even be really in the game for reaching 5% this time around, depending on what is going on. And I saw a head nod there, and that's where I was thinking it was at as far as that one. So he's a shoe-in for 2% for us, and the others are also highly likely. What we need to do next time around is look at and really try to help Nate and his department um, get somebody that is really going to run an active campaign and these ones that have that possibility to reach that 5% and really target those as a ballot access efforts is what I'm finding from the information out there. Some of you, this is not new information, and some of you it is, and this is just another half of the political action there is being able to maintain our ballot access and be more thoughtful about it. Mr. Polsky.
Yeah, just to kind of go into a little bit more without going into strategy. Um, Finding people who are actually interested in running for office and willing to put the effort in is getting harder and harder. I know Ted worked pretty hard just to get the few people that we could to run for statewide office, and of those, a handful of them are actually doing any sort of effort that I've seen. When I reach out to them, I don't get any responses. They're paper candidates. And while paper candidates are great to have our name on the ballot, just having people and people that are willing to support those candidates it's hard.
Does this take, all right, looking at the comments there, this does not take into account the continuous 10% they keep trying to raise the threshold to. If we get to if they do that to us, as you can see from breaking this down, that we would not be able to reach that 10%, and then that really cuts the life of our party down really short. If we put in full effort right now, we only have one race where we have a chance to reach 5%. Um, and so that is something that is very dangerous for us in the future, Amanda. Um, yeah, yes, we're starting to have a future. Yeah, I don't really want to go into the specifics on future efforts right now, Carter. I'm just starting the conversation because we really haven't looked at this in a deliberate manner. Um, as far as for ballot access, we normally just look at who the candidates are and not trying to reach those ballot access efforts there. All of this is public information out there, and that I'm sharing tonight, and that we can have further discussions down the road of how we can help the department there to do their best efforts there and how to encourage some of our candidates that are running. I'm confident this time around we'll at least stay alive until 2028, that we do have that force, unless the legislative session changes something in the future that will impact later runs down the road. I didn't want to take up too much time this evening, so hopefully I answered some questions there. And I just wanted to bring this up as something that we can think about and come up with a strategy in the long term that will help that department there. So thank you for listening to my little presentation there.
Thank you for my TED talk. Thanks you, Paul, for putting that together and for doing the research to kind of number it up. I'd like to, I haven't talked to Mark in a while. I'd like to see what he's thinking about, what kind of campaign he intends to run, if anything significant, but maybe there's something we could do to kind of juice that up a little bit. Next, Jessi, I think you were gonna, can you give us an update on what's going on with your campaign?
Yeah. All right. So campaign is in full swing and gearing up for a big digitization effort that's going to kick off next month. So in terms of fundraising has gone pretty well. We've crossed the $21,000 threshold and are starting to put some of that money to work on, obviously, social media and big digitization piece that's going to be our next big splash. So that's not like social media ads, that's actual targeted outreach to a specific demographic. So I'm not sure who all on the call is familiar with Jeff Hewitt. He was a campaign manager who has worked with a number of Libertarian candidates, most recently getting Ryan Woodcraft elected in the school board for El Paso. He has come on board with the campaign as a consultant / strategist and has started to help us kind of slice and dice our voter files and really start looking at things in a targeted way in our CRM, so that whenever we do kick off that digitization effort next month, it is going to be full bore. Same data will be used for our block walking, phone banking, and all of that stuff. So July, August, September, October is going to be balls to the wall as far as campaign efforts go. So in terms of volunteer efforts, I would say folks that are in the Houston metro area will definitely be able to use folks to block walk or pound in yard signs. That's going to be a big need. But even if you're not in the Houston metro area, whenever we're ready to start doing phone or text banking, would welcome any and all assistance on that. What I do need more than anything right now, just if you want to kind of spread the word, is donations. So while we've done really well for a Libertarian campaign in terms of fundraising, there's still a lot more that we want to do, but we are restricted by the funds that we have. So one of the things we want to do is make some more of these bad boys, these little rack cards, get some more of those printed. So we have those for our block walking efforts and then all of our tabling efforts as well. And then obviously we'll be doing a fresh batch of yard signs prior to kind of that last quarter as well. So shout out to our very own Candace Landry, who is on my campaign team and has been putting in a ton of work on strategic narratives and personas and really starting to kind of put together some good stuff in terms of what we can kind of pass along to our marketing folks and everything. So I just wanted to shout out Candace for all of the work she's been doing on the campaign.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'll kind of open it up to questions, comments from there. That's kind of the state of the state right now.
Anyone?
HowardForTexas.com/donate.
I was just going to say, the way you're running your campaign is what we need others to run their campaign like, that are going for some of those ones. You're running it very smart, and I love what I'm seeing.
Thanks, Paul.
100%. Well, you want to go on to the RLC?
Yeah. So Candace and Jacob and I went out to a social event that the Republican Liberty Caucus put on last Wednesday as they were kicking off the GOP state convention here in Houston. It was a good evening. Had a lot of really good conversations. Jeremy Kitchen, who is the president of Texas Policy Research, which is one of the most libertarian leaning kind of, I guess, think tanks, if you will, not really a think tank, but organizations in the state was there. He was on the panel along with Dan McKnight, who is the brains and the leadership behind Bring Our Troops Home, Defend the Guard. And then also Andy Hopper, who is a state representative. So that was a 3-person panel, really focusing on points of view and strategy around Defend the Guard and ending taxpayer-funded lobbying. So as we start thinking about our legislative priorities for the upcoming legislative session, I do think that Defend the Guard and ending taxpayer-funded lobbying will be ones that I will be kind of raising my hand for again. But one of the things that we talked about with the RLC was really putting our heads together and being more collaborative in the legislative session. So obviously they're Republicans and we're Libertarians, and we all have bylaws, and there's not a whole lot that we can do from an electoral standpoint, right? But there's nothing that will keep us from partnering together from a legislative perspective. So to the extent that we can find those single issue coalitions, like eliminating property taxes or Defend the Guard or ending taxpayer funded lobbying, or, you know, insert liberty focused thing here. I think it's worthwhile for us to strategize with the RLC and maybe even try to coordinate some of our legislative action days together so that we come out in force. And even, you know, to an extent, like maybe we play a little bit of good cop, bad cop together. So that was something I thought might be worthwhile. We always talk about, you know, the importance of single issue coalitions, but actually, you know, kind of building those relationships and trying to put it into action in the 90th Ledge, I think is something worth considering. I'll pause again there for questions, comments, or actually Candace and Jacob, since you were there too, anything that you would add from the evening?
No, I think that was a great summary. I think it was a good experience to actually listen to him firsthand. And I think that we have more in common with them on their 3 major initiatives than we have differently. I mean, you know, there are definitely some things that are different when you get down to like nitty gritty details, but on average, we're actually quite aligned in how they're messaging their 3 top target issues right now. Jacob?
I got contact info for both the chair of Houston area and the chair of Texas. Both of them said that they were very interested in working with us on a couple of different things. So I did get that. I was going to try to pull the chair. I have his name. I can't think of it off the top of my head. I was going to try to pull the chair and Andrew together to see if maybe they could get a talk on getting together on some of those issues that they're working with. But I did get contact info for him. I got Dan McKnight's contact info too, so he can run with it. Also, if we do get to the point and we need it, I have I can't think of his name right now. The other guy with Defend the Guard, the one with the beard and the, anyways.
Diego
Okay.
Rivera.
Okay. There you go, Diego. I got Diego's phone number too. We've talked multiple times in the past, so they have connection. I mean, we have their ways to outreach, and they have their ways to outreach back to us. So we should be able to put together some things here in the not so distant future, especially with legislative session coming up before too long, that we could probably work on together for some of those single issue coalitions.
Yeah. Yeah, the RLC chair you were thinking of, Jacob, his name's James Pinedo. And I think some of us may have met him whenever we had our SLEC meeting in El Paso a couple of years back. He had come out and had come to some of our social events and went honky tonkin with us and everything. But solid guy. And like Jacob says, he's interested in working with us on legislative efforts. So I'm happy to do whatever we need to do to kind of make intros and all of that good stuff too, so we could start talking strategy. Susan, I see you got your hand up.
Yes, sorry, I'm not used to this on my phone. So you mentioned 2, the Guard and the taxpayer lobbying, but then Candace mentioned 3. What was the third main thing that they were focused on legislatively?
I know that there's going to be another push to basically ban the pot next
Okay.
next term. So they are definitely against that as well,
Okay.
and are gearing up on that thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Candace, Jacob, anything else that came up in your conversations beyond kind of those big three?
No, really top of mind is defend the guard. They spend a lot of time on that, and they're very, very entrenched in that. And property taxes, there's a lot of fire about property taxes. And so again, when you get really nuanced about maybe their solution to it, then you start to see maybe some divergence, but conceptually, there's some pretty tight alignment on that.
Yeah. I also brought up just, abolishing civil asset forfeiture, just because that's an area where it's in our platform, it's in the Democrat platform, it's in the Republican platform. It should be a nonpartisan issue, but every single session it gets brought up and it dies. It doesn't go anywhere, which is very strange for something that has basically tripartisan support. So I would like to try to push that one again too. Susan, did you have another question, or was it your hands just still up? Okay. All right. I think back to you, Andrew, unless anybody else has any other questions.
That's great. Was that a question? No. Okay. Well, then next on my list, couple of things just to mention or to be thinking about. By now you've seen or should have seen, or I hope you have seen the new and improved staff organization chart, which has a lot of empty boxes on it. And I would encourage everybody here that's not already serving on staff to consider matching something you're interested in or is a hot button for you or something you have some skills with to one of the vacancies there. We really need to flesh out this org chart. And if that's not your thing, or if you have bandwidth, time limitations, just can't really commit to something, then maybe somebody who could. We could use help with recruiting. So whatever we need to do, we desperately need a development director and probably 2 or 3 more development staff just to get that going. We'd like to get a new outreach director. Outreach is going to be the name of the game when it comes to growing the party, strengthening the party, bringing in fresh meat, and then I'll just leave it at that. I mean that those are the positions we really need to fill right now. But there's a lot of different things, a lot of different ways people could plug in and help move the needle in terms of what we're able to accomplish just out in the field. So take a look at that staff page, see if there's anything interesting. Personal exemption for me for anybody that's actively running a political campaign right now. That's a whole different deal. You've got your hands full for 6 months, so do that. But anybody else, please see if there's some way that you could get involved in doing and just keeping things running. Speaking of keeping things running, next thing on my list has to do with just kind of an unfortunate situation, an awkward situation that we're working our way through. But basically, from the end of convention, our outgoing secretary, Christy Ford, has been, I'll just say, difficult to get hold of. And which means basically that she hasn't responded to anything from anybody until one time when she reached out to Nolan to say that which was in like late May, to say that she'd had a really bad time with the end of the school year and was very sorry that she hadn't been able to get any of that done, but she would be looking at it that weekend and would get it to him as soon as possible. And since then, we haven't heard anything back, and she's not responsive. So in the meantime, our own Anastasia Wilford, who has some game in this area, went through, basically got to relive the whole experience and watch all the video and go back over the convention proceedings and come up with a set of minutes documenting our activity at the convention. And she also produced, at no extra charge, revised governing documents in accordance with the changes authorized at convention. So this caused us a lot of consternation in May when we were trying to get Robert on board as treasurer. And we were not able to get our banking stuff done because we didn't have the minutes that show, for those of you that do this kind of stuff, you know that an organization would need a corporate resolution or some evidence of authority that this person that comes into your bank and wants to open an account actually is operating on behalf of the organization. For our political party, that ends up being the minutes of our convention where that person is elected to the office of treasurer. We were dead in the water until Anastasia put together these minutes, and thankfully, as a result of that and some scrambling on my part and Nolan's part and Robert's part, we're very close to getting our banking situation settled. In the meantime, what I propose to do is I've already asked the IT guys to go ahead and I kind of got triggered this afternoon. I think Susan was the one was wondering about where to find bylaws, and Scott responded to her and said, well, they're on our website. Of course, they haven't been updated yet since 2024. And that was kind of the line for me. It's just, okay, it's June. It's going to be July soon. We just need to go ahead and get on with this. So IT is supposed to be putting the new documents, the platform on the platform page, the LP Texas bylaws, SLEC bylaws, and policy manual should all be available on the governance page, tomorrow at the latest, if they're not already. I haven't checked recently, but so that'll take care of that. The deal with the minutes, my proposal there is I'm going to send out an email to all y'all and to everybody on SLEC with a copy of the minutes that Anastasia came up with and certified as an attender. And we'll have, I would propose I don't know why we couldn't knock this out in the 30 days, roughly between now and our July meeting, or we could handle it on the forum. Maybe forum is a better way to do it. I'm just trying not to make any more of a big deal out of this than I have to, but at our July meeting, I would like to have a motion to adopt the minutes from the convention. And then if there are any revisions or amendments or whatever, if you'll have from now to July, 13th or whatever the date is, to review that, see if you see anything that looks fishy. I think Anastasia did a good job. I've already been all over it. And Nolan, especially, I would like you as secretary to make sure that that's the way you remember it. And then once we, if there are any tweaks, fine. But then once we adopt these in July, then we can just file it and move on, and we'll be done with that. So look for that email soon after we get off the phone. I'll have that out to you. And in the meantime, like I said, if anybody needs reference to the governing documents or the new platform, any of that, it should be on the website very soon if it's not already. One last action item for me, just in terms of stuff that I've been thinking about. I would think that it's not too early to start thinking about standing up our convention committees. I know that seems, there have been several terms I've been on where we didn't even think about this until next summer. But that always ends up putting us behind the 8 ball on venue stuff. We have stuff. We're finding that the kind of venues we need are booking 2 years out. The sooner we can get started on this, the better. Our team from last term did a pretty good job of teeing up some opportunities, some options for us that we could go ahead and start working on negotiating and nailing it down. We're also not in a very good negotiating position when we're 1 year out and we're desperate and there's only a handful of places that are even considering working with us that aren't already booked out or don't feed our needs. So same basic outline. My plan here is to post something on the forum about getting these committees going. I would prioritize the convention planning committee or oversight committee or operations committee, whatever we want to style it as. but I'm not really sure why we couldn't go ahead and get started with populating the other ones. We give ourselves a month, maybe two, if we want to wait until the August in-person, the August formal meeting, you know, to actually do the voting and so forth. But yeah, getting some head nods on that one. So, okay. I'd like to go ahead and do minutes because we can do that. You know, we can get that done by July. But the convention, recruiting people, reaching out to people, seeing who's available, getting setting up a forum for people to apply, and then getting our information together so we can have some discussion and a vote in August. Does that sound like anybody object to that plan? And we'll go ahead and get this rolling. Okay. So far, so good. Well then, really, that's it for me. Pleasantly early. Does anybody else have anything they want to bring up tonight or get into tonight?
I see
There's
two
a couple
hands
of
raised.
Wait, oh, what?
There's two hands raised for Susan Barney and Anastasia Woodward.
Yes, there are. I really suck at this. Okay, Susan, how do I recognize, or Susan, what's
Okay, sorry, I just got that unmuted. So yeah, I did ask for the bylaws. I was reading through, I don't have in front of me the new updated bylaws and the motion that we passed, but in reading through them, I know that a lot of things having to do with SLEC are now not in alignment with the changes that we made to being at large, especially things like, you know, what if we have to replace a SLEC member or remove a SLEC member? Everything is about district reps and voting within, you know, Senate districts. So do we have to go through motions to make those changes? How do those changes get made so that the bylaws reflect how we are now operating on SLEC?
there? Are you said you haven't seen the new bylaws?
I haven't, but and that could be an issue, but I don't see how, I don't think we addressed all of that on the convention floor. So I'm thinking that there still needs to be some work there, but I could be wrong.
Well, I think
That was
the best thing
all
to do-
included in Proposal 20, and the amendment that Joe Roberts made to allow for filling of vacancies in between conventions.
Okay, so I'm just not
So
remembering that part.
what you'll see in the new bylaws when you take a look at them is that there are no longer references to district reps. In fact, most of the language is pretty flexible so that in the event that we change structure again, that it should still cover. There should be less things that need to be changed.
Okay, then I will just wait to see. And what is the timeline on having that updated? Did you say specifically, or is it like in the next month, or I missed that?
Andrew posted
Actually, you're check your Discord direct messages because I sent those to you this afternoon.
Okay, so and they're going to be put up on the website as well?
Yeah, they'll be put
now
on the
they're ready?
website. Should be on the website within a day. Usually they turn that stuff around like late at night or over 24 hours or so. I don't know why it would take more than a day in this case. And
Okay.
I think that's going to answer your questions. But I knew
Yeah,
you had a
I'll go
specific
then and read
question,
that.
so I went ahead and sent it to you.
Oh,
So-
okay, thank you very much.
Jenny Moore. You're muted.
Oh, damn it. Sorry.
There you go.
Hi, everybody. I just want to throw out at the end of this month on the 28th, Washington County and maybe Fayette and, you know, Candace, if you want to come hang out, Austin's always welcome. We will be in industry. Fred Zimmerman puts on a 4th of July thing where, well, actually industry does. And Pat Dixon's going to come down. And as far as I know, Fred has invited all the candidates to come walk around and get to know some of the people. It's a small event, but it has a lot of people, and it's a really good time if you want to come sweat it out and hang out, and you can get ahead of some of the 4th of July stuff. They do that on purpose so they don't conflict with some of the other official 4th of July events. And then my other thing is on July 25th, we are having our 6th annual Hot Nights, Cool Tunes, our summer social for Washington County. And it's also Judy Lehman's birthday. So we're just going to hype it up pretty big. So I'm just putting that out there. That's
Yeah,
all.
Austin County will be at the June 28th event. We're bringing some K-trucks for the tailgate.
Oh, cool.
Nice. All right. No, Jenny, you have another question or? Okay. Nolan, question or comment? You're still muted.
I was just going to mention that currently we're in Guadalupe County. Our float is going to be in the parade as it has been since 2016, and we're actually promoting Anthony for the parade. So he actually, with some of this money he had for the campaign, he's actually helping. He's putting a lot for the decorations for the float this year. So our float this year is very Anthony themed.
And what was the date on that again? That was, you said the 4th of July?
Yeah, it's the morning of the 4th of July.
Okay, cool.
So it's always busy mornings on the 4th for me.
Okay. I think that I don't see any other hands raised. Anybody else have anything we need to address tonight? Are we ready to close out? Not hear anything. I guess we're done. Y'all have a good evening, and we will talk again soon, I'm sure.
All right. Thanks for all the reports tonight.
Thank
Sounds
you,
good.
guys.